So this episode was prepared before we woke up to the terrible news in Australia. I even feel like it's stupid to say I have no words. Like that even doesn't work. It's just, I don't know. I don't even know. So what I do want to do is dedicate this episode to Ellie Schlinger and all the other beautiful souls that were murdered. And I also want to keep in our hearts the families of these beautiful souls, that Hanukkah is never going to be the same. And, you know, we as Jews, we're not strangers to having to hold pain and suffering and fear alongside joy and light and courage and strength. And we know how to do it. I just wish we didn't have to anymore. But I don't know. We're still having to do it. So from the bottom of my heart, I wish everybody a happy Hanukkah, a peaceful Hanukkah, a joyous Hanukkah, and keep in mind all the souls that lost their lives for being Jewish and elevate them in our determination to not back down. We won't, obviously, we won't. But all my love.
You know, life has a way of surprising us. We've all had unexpected moments that really end up impacting who we are. I'm Chavie Brooke, and let me tell you, I've had my fair share of these moments. On Totally Unexpected, I don't just interview my guests. We have long, meaningful conversations to explore the twists and the turns that change their lives. You won't only be hearing from the guest, you'll be hearing from me and my thoughts and reflections, just as I would be doing in real life. These aren't traditional interviews, they're conversations about struggle, growth, and the moments that make us human. We all just want to feel connected. At least I do. And if we end up feeling a little less alone, that would make me so happy. Welcome to Totally Unexpected, your number one favorite podcast. Guys, can you believe that it's the week of Hanukkah? I don't even know how this happens. Like, it was just Sukkot. Like, when did Hanukkah happen? Anyway, I just thought I should mention that. But the guest that you're about to listen to is fantastic. And normally I reach out and I get the guest's bio and I read it and I kind of put it in my own words. This time I'm going to literally read you the bio because it's so perfectly said and it's just so fun. Okay, so the guest of this week is Chevee Szokovski, one of my closest friends, a gem of a person, and you're in for a treat. This is the bio. I'm a wife of one, mom of three, bestie of Chavie Brooke for more than half our lives. Can you believe it? Literally, more than half our lives. Really try to live a life of values, passionate about education and inclusion teaching for 20 plus years, and a lifelong learner. Director of Friendship Circle Hebrew School, a Hebrew school for children with special needs. I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. It is so special and fun and actually a little scary to have like a close friend on the podcast. When you have a guest that you don't know so well, or you're like, you know each other, is one thing. But when it's like a close friend, there's something that's, you would think like it, in some ways it's easier because you just have a natural flow. But on the other hand, there are times where it's like, oh, could you bring that energy of besties to the podcast? And I think we did. We had the best time. And the conversation is so rich with such beautiful messaging and life lessons, as always, but just real, true living life head on, facing the stuff that come before you, finding your true identity, your true values, your true self, and you're in for a treat. So enjoy. If you want to sponsor, please reach out. I think it's not a secret that podcasts are funded through sponsorships and advertisements. There's no secret way to go about it. And I would love to partner with all of you and any of you. Please reach out. All my contact information is in the show notes. And we're very grateful to all our partnerships and all our sponsorships. When did I first ask you?
Before you even started the podcast. I have always been your biggest cheerleader.
And I've always wanted you on. I'm like, okay, Chavie, when are you coming? When you're coming, you're like,
it took a while, but not so long. A year is not like such a long time.
No, a year is not. No, honestly, a year is not too bad, and I expected it to be longer. So I'm very excited. When you told me, you're like, okay, I think I'm ready. I'm like, for real? For real?
I know. I have to say, I was really inspired by that book I gave you. I'm sorry I'm late. I didn't want to come. I was really, really inspired by her, like, pushing herself so far out of her comfort zone. I'm like, I think I need that. Like, I mean,
tell me about the book. Tell me about, you gave it to me, but I haven't read it yet because I'm like on my stack.
I highly recommend it. It's a really great, easy read. So well written, so humorous, and just so meaningful. Not that I could relate to her as an introvert, because I find myself to be quite the opposite, but it basically was an introvert's year of faking being an extrovert in order to push herself out of her comfort zone and build her confidence and whatever. And it was just fabulous. I highly recommend you read it.
And so after the year, okay, but I guess we shouldn't give spoilers, but I'm just so...
Yeah, no spoiler alert. But I'm just saying, like, that was like,
I want to know, like, what happened after the year? Was she still alive? Could you imagine an introvert?
And, like, better than ever. Like, amazing. So I'm all for... and it's something, it's funny because I always tell my kids, like, push yourself. If it's uncomfortable, that's where the growth happens, blah, blah, blah. And I remember them using it against me. We were at Six Flags and they're like, can you come on the roller coaster? And I'm like, no. I don't do roller coasters. And they're like, don't you tell us, push yourself. Your comfort zone is going to inhibit your growth. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. That's where growing happens. That's where life happens. And I'm like, don't use that against me.
No,
like,
it does not apply.
That to your mom. You cannot say that back to me.
And you cannot apply that to roller coasters.
Yeah, exactly. Like, podcasts are 10 times
scarier. Did you go on the roller coaster?
I did not.
No.
I have not. And I will
because
not.
Roller coasters are not, I don't feel like that's a category that we should push ourselves. It's either you can handle them or you die. Or you can't.
What would I actually be getting out of going on a roller coaster? Like, bonding with my children, just being in Six Flags with children is a bonding experience.
Enough.
Doing something that scares me, I have plenty of real life that scares me. That's scarier than roller coasters.
You should tell your kids, you know that I get when I wake up in the morning and I get up every single day, coming out of bed is pushing myself. I literally
let's start with the basics.
Oh my gosh. I literally had therapy this morning and literally that's what I talked about. I'm like, I can't get out of bed in the morning. Like, it is just so daunting and it is so...
And that's before we change the clocks. Get ready next week when it's like, I don't know, miserable at midnight at 7 a.m.
Correct. I can't, first of all, I hate the change of clock thing. Second of all, I'm like, and it sounds like it's a little, like, it sounds like a red flag. Like, oh my gosh, you can't get out of bed. You're, depressed or whatever. And I'm not depressed.
You're just cold.
I'm just cold. I'm cold and I'm just not going to sleep early enough and I'm tired. And I also think there's like a genetic thing to it, like adrenal. We have her, hereditary, like adrenal fatigue. And that is really hard for your body to like get going in the morning. I'm like, my ideal time is 10 o'clock. I will
Yep.
get up and then I will shut down at 8 p.m. And that is what I want to do.
That's
I
so
also,
generous. I thought
I
on
know,
if we were talking about our
our
optimal
four
evening time are like 10 a.m. till 2:30
to
p.m.
2:30. I know, but I was like, you know what? I could push myself
Uh-huh. I
till
hear
8
that.
o'clock. I could push myself till 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, don't even try talking to me. And I was also saying, I'm like, I think we were talking about this too. I'm like, I really feel like I could retire. I will be fine. Like
Yes.
I
Yes.
am
Yes.
I am ready. Like I'll
Yes.
do all the fun little things that I'll dabble in, but like
Right. And I would totally volunteer. Like I would do so much good if I retired. I really would. I would be that like super active retiree. But like
right?
my husband
Yeah.
likes to remind me, like most people don't retire at 39 years old.
I know, but why not?
I know. I feel like we also got a little bit of like a head start in life. Like we didn't go through
We
those
hit
years
the
of like
ground running.
partying and just like being and just like waking up late. I think the last time I woke up late, I was like a toddler.
No. This is for real. I think we start our lives really, really young, like 21 married, 22, I was already living in Montana on Shlichus, having the responsibility of a community. Yes, a very small one. And yes,
Right.
growing and didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
But that's a lot. It's
Right.
just, I think, and that's why I think in our mid 40s, we find ourselves
Hey,
like,
we're not mid 40s, we're early 40s.
no, but I'm saying like yeah,
Oh,
correct.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm
Headed,
saying like by mid 40s, we're
right.
just like, okay, I think we're done, or we need a sabbatical, or we need some kind of
Right.
huge break because get started so young. Like we're
Totally.
already over 20 years into a
Right.
real
Right.
working, intense, child rearing life. That's a lot.
I know. I just did the math and I realized I've been teaching for 21 years.
And you're 41.
It's a long time. And that's with like taking a year break in between. Like,
No,
that's
that's
a
crazy.
really, really long time for a young person to be
Right.
doing the same
So
thing.
I think I think it just helps put things in context when we're like feeling burnt out or ready to like take a break. Well, because we started young. We're
Right.
started young. We really work, we work really hard.
Yes, we do. And this is why we're friends, because we can validate each other for all our hard work,
I
whether
know.
it's getting out
It's
of bed.
whenever I'm like feeling like I need to feel understood or I can vent without being judged. You're my person.
Ditto, ditto, ditto.
Okay, so let's start from first of all, we need to tell the peoples how long we know each other. Like this is a big deal. So we went to high school together starting from 10th grade.
Right.
We weren't actually friends in high school.
No, we weren't. You
Yeah,
scared
we
me.
weren't not friends. We just weren't friends.
Right.
because I didn't live in the dorm. Okay.
Right. And you like were established, like you had your little group of friends and like
I actually
that was
didn't have a
good.
group. I had one person from each like different groups. Like I didn't have a
Oh,
group. I wasn't
right.
a groupie. I didn't have a group.
That's true. That's true. You did have your person
I
in
had
each
like
group. That
random,
is true.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I had no one.
To me, you were like popular, part of the dorm crowd and always having fun and doing crazy things. Like that's how I saw it, which is so amazing, which is what we're going to get to talk about
Yes.
because we're going to go through your experience
And
from
it's
high
so
school on
fascinating
or
to hear like how you're perceived versus how you
Mhm.
perceive yourself. And like, it's just amazing how, and obviously like this is really the topic that we'll get into, but like, it's so fascinating if you could like take yourself out of your own picture
Yeah.
where you can get to. It's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But we can get to high school for sure.
Well, no, I think we need to start younger, but I just
Yeah,
was
yeah, we will. It's
introducing.
so funny that you say high school because it's like so many times people are like, oh my God, I wish I could go back to high school. Like those were the years. And I had a great high school experience. It was amazing. It was tremendous, like learning and growth and development and whatever. but I have
I
no
want to do it again.
ever doing that again. Like,
No
the only thing
way.
I really never want to do more than that is middle school, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's no interest. So we
Yeah.
could start from the beginning.
Yes. But all to say that we know each other, I don't
Oh,
know, 25 years? More?
yeah,
No
25,
more. Because
6,
how old are we in 10th grade? We are 16?
10th grade. Well, my son is in 10th grade, so I know
Okay,
this.
15.
We're 15 turning 16, right?
Okay. So,
So we know each other for like 26 years.
yeah.
That's crazy. That's like
Yeah.
more years of our life than we don't. So like that's
Correct.
pretty cool. And the fact that we've like gone through so many stages of life, forget just years, but like stages and
Oh my
places
gosh.
together.
Ages and experiences,
Yeah,
disappointments, unexpected, which is, by the way,
totally
like
unexpected.
my podcast is called Totally Unexpected. And it's just like you like fit like right into that. Well, honestly, we all do because we all have things that are unexpected. But when I really, you've had a lot in your life that didn't go the way that you thought, and same, which is why I do this. But we really became friends very closely in seminary and then from then on. So it's just so amazing to like do this with somebody that I know. So like I honestly know you longer than I know my husband, you know?
Right, right.
Uh,
Yes,
and it's just a great like to have someone who knows me from high school, that we know each other from high school, like and have gone through such a gamut of
and it's so fascinating because
stages.
like we've changed so much and we've totally stayed the same. Like I think it's
Exactly.
so interesting how that happens. Like, yeah, maturity obviously is a thing, but and life experience is another thing.
Is a thing. Yes.
But
Correct.
it's fascinating how like I feel like when we're together, we revert back to like
High school. Or like not high school, but like teenager.
20-year-olds, whatever.
20-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, totally. Okay, so let's start in middle school. I think we should start in middle school. I wanted to hear, you grew up in Morristown. Tell me a little bit about growing up in Morristown and your school experience starting from the best time of your life, middle school.
So it even starts before then. The
Okay.
fun starts even before.
Okay, great. Take us all the way to the beginning.
So I, thank God, am one of 5 children. I was born to amazing parents. My father, Alav Hashalom, and my mother were really great, great parents. And my mom still is. I grew up in a warm, loving, nurturing home where there was a sense of order and respect and values. And both of my parents were very hardworking and passed a lot of that down to us.
Mhm. Oh boy.
Um, yeah,
Yes.
maybe
Maybe a
too
little too
hardworking.
much.
Yeah, exactly. So my parents had a child a couple years after they got married. 4 years later, they had another one. 11 years later, they had another one. 13 months later, they had me. And
Mm.
6 years later, another one. So every child was kind of their own thing. And then it was like, surprise, you have a kid after 11 years. And surprise, surprise, you have another one after 13 months. And it was like, oh my God, what do we even do with that?
Yeah.
And not that they ever verbalized that, or not that I ever remember like, oh my God, it was chaos. It really wasn't. Like my parents were great. They knew what
Mhm.
they were doing. I don't know how I wouldn't have known what to do in that circumstance. But I guess I always, from such a young age, felt that like I need to be heard, seen, whatever. And I don't know if it's like a birth order thing or if it's like nurture versus nature
Or being so close to another
or being so
sibling.
close, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but it was just like interesting to me. Like when I look back
Mm.
at that. So I was like a big personality. And I don't know if it's because I just was by nature the way God created me, or if it's just because if I wanted to be seen or heard, I better make noise because
Yeah.
otherwise, like life is so overwhelming without. So
Right.
that
Probably
was
both.
really what? Probably both. Yeah.
Probably both. Yeah.
Right. So as young as I can remember, that was really my experience of just wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen. In preschool, I remember just, getting along, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I blocked out a lot of years of my
Mm.
childhood
Interesting.
And then in first grade, I really remember, I want to say being bullied, but like lowercase b,
Yeah.
right? Like it
Right.
wasn't like torture, it wasn't whatever, but it was like my best friend turned on me and she had a new best friend and small town living where I only had a few kids in my class. And I never felt a sense of calm or peace or belonging in the group from
Yeah.
then on.
Wow.
Sometimes it was worse. Sometimes it was better. Sometimes it was being made fun of. Sometimes it was just not being included. And I say just as if that's not just as bad. But
Yeah.
I always had that like sense of not being included, not being wanted, maybe.
Wow.
It was really hard. It was really, really hard for a bunch of years. As an adult, I can look back and say that the children that were the biggest tormentors clearly had things in their own lives
Yeah.
and they needed to be seen or heard in their ways and they weren't getting what they needed. So they were projecting it onto me. But a child doesn't get that and doesn't want to hear that. Thank God at the end of the day, I came home to the most loving mother who would be like, okay, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to call their mother and tell them to apologize? And I'm like, no,
That's
no,
the worst
that's
thing.
even worse, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, it is what it is. Suck it up. We'll figure it out eventually. I don't know. Like, thank God there's other things to look forward to in life.
Did you come home and feel comfortable enough and just to tell your mother that this was going on?
So I think when I was really young, I didn't know how to express it. I
Yeah.
remember just like throwing tantrums at 7 or 8
Yeah.
years old. And obviously, looking back, I can say I was struggling and I didn't
Mhm.
have the words for it. And therefore, I acted out or whatever.
Yeah.
And then once I got a little bit older, a little more mature, I did have the words. And thank God I did feel comfortable coming home and sharing that and
Right.
feeling loved and feeling supported. And I think that's what got me through it
Right.
as well as it did, if I can say.
As well as you could in those situations.
So I think as we all got older and matured and I guess figured ourselves out, thank God things got better, right? So I would say like towards the end of middle school, it definitely got better, not
Mm.
worse.
Okay.
And then came high school. So grew up in a small town and there was no Chabad high school. So my parents decided to send me to Chicago to a Chabad boarding school. And it was like, I guess elitist, like it was the best at the time. We had a huge Chabad school an hour and a half away where I could have like lived during the week and then come home on weekends. But I
In
chose
Base Rivka and Crown Heights.
Grand Crown Heights, right? But my parents, they didn't think like, they just thought it was like so big and it was like eat you up alive type of thing.
I tried it in 6th grade and it did eat me up alive.
Right, right.
And then I came home traumatized, stayed home for 7th grade, and then I ended up in Chicago in 8th grade.
Right. So for ninth grade, we had like I don't know, it was, I guess, a repeat of like eighth grade, but
Yeah,
like
like a mom and
a little bit
pop
of
kind of
different material
situation.
or whatever. But
Yeah.
for 10th grade, it was really like, okay, this is not working. We need to like split these girls up and send them to proper high school. So I ended up in Chicago and I finally had a chance to like kind
Reinvent
of like
yourself.
reinvent myself, start anew. Nobody knew who I was. I feel like high school, everybody's struggling to figure out who they are to start with. So I was already like a little bit ahead of the game because I like kind of was forced to figure myself
Mm,
out and who I am and who I want to be and what I want because I didn't have
interesting.
that like safety net of like
Yeah.
just like falling back on my people. I just have to say, my childhood friends and I are very close, many
Mhm.
of them. So it's funny how like things kind of, the pendulum swings and
Yeah, exactly.
grow
Yeah.
up and whatever. So shout out to all of them in case they're listening that I
You're
have
loved.
given, believe it or not.
You know what? I feel like we should spend a second there because that is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It is a big deal to like go back from childhood and even though and everyone has their like different memories and their different narratives of what was going on for them and how things went down and to like feel safe enough to like work through that all and forgive and move on and be friends. I feel like that's huge and probably not that common.
True.
Cuz when like a lot of times, like when you have the opportunity to go back to your middle school friends, and because we live in a more insular community and it's smaller, so there's opportunity for that. But I do think that it takes a huge amount of humility and grace and just letting go. It's really admirable for all parties involved, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, but it was a process.
Yeah, no, it's work. It doesn't just
To
happen by
go
itself.
back there is hard. And that's without ayahuasca, right? I feel like everybody now is like, oh my God, I need plant medicine to like take me back. And I'm like, I don't need plant medicine. I could just like use my memory. And to go back there is painful, to be honest. To go back to that 8, 9, 10-year-old child and be like, I hear you, right? As
Mhm.
an adult, like you were really struggling then and you didn't get what you needed. I'm not, God forbid, pointing fingers at anybody. Like I didn't even know what I needed, but
Right, but it was a
whatever, you had
reality.
needs that
Yeah.
were not met, whether they were
Mhm.
social needs or whatever. And you know what? Like, I got you. Like, it's
Mhm.
amazing that we got here. I think the most fascinating thing throughout my years, and I want to say my journey, but like, it sounds so cliche because I don't have like some like incredible journey that like I started at a low and I just rose to the top and that's just not me. I feel like my journey is just
Ah.
life. You know what I mean? Like,
Journey is called survival. We are just
survival, right?
surviving. What journey? The journey that we're
Right.
still on and may not actually succeed.
Right. Like,
We may not actually make it.
right. But my point is that like I was able to go back there
Yeah.
only once I was at a certain point in my life where I was
Yes.
confident and I was mature enough and I was even struggling with similar things and like to figure out like where is that rooted, right? Like
Yeah.
nothing you struggle with is in a vacuum. Everything has a source. Everything has its predecessor, so to say.
I worked with a therapist once. I don't remember if it was with my kids or with my husband. I don't remember, but she used this term it's just like very useful. She called it like the history screen. It's like not everything is built on your history. Like, and it's exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Like all the issues that come up for you now is because of your past history, and each thing builds a narrative and builds who you are. And so it's not just, oh, somebody hurt your feelings. It's like, well, why did that hurt your feelings? And then you go back and you realize there's a narrative there from wherever it started.
Right.
So I think that's what you're saying.
Fascinating because there's so much learning involved. And I'm a kindergarten teacher and I've been a teacher in different
For
ages
21 years.
for 21 years. So I definitely feel like, I guess at this point, like a lifelong teacher, but I really, really, really try to be a lifelong learner. And it's fascinating how much you can learn by going backwards.
Yeah.
The whole, I guess it's like the understanding by design model where you really go backwards. And I'm grateful to be at a place where I can go
Yeah.
backwards and I can face things or I can learn from them because at the end of the day, like history repeats itself. It might clothe itself in different forms and whatnot, but whoever you are and whatever you struggle with is going to keep coming up again and again and again.
Hmm.
And if you don't work it out, like it doesn't just magically go away. So I
Yeah.
guess like whoever's listening to this, I guess what I want to just say is face it. Like at
Right.
some point, face whatever you're struggling with because it's easier to face it than to keep trying to like stuff it down.
And it's going to come out anyway. So how did you do it? If you feel comfortable sharing, like, how did you address it with your friend group? How did you go back and actually do the healing? I feel like people say, oh, I went back and I did it, but very rarely do we hear, well, how did you do it? Like, did you initiate? What did you say? Like, and of course it doesn't happen right away. Like you said, it's a process. Can you walk us through that? How did this happen?
Honestly, it was more inside of me than it even
Mm,
was meeting people head on, right? It
right.
was finding it inside myself to forgive,
Yeah.
which can only happen once you face it
Mhm.
head on. And one of my closest friends at the time actually approached me. She was doing some inner work. And she said, I guess one of the steps she was working through was addressing old wrongs or
Yeah.
fixing old wrongs or whatever. And she reached out to me. And at the time, I was like, I'm not going there. Like, are you forcing me to like go back? Like, I'm
Mm.
not, I didn't sign up for that. Like, I'm
Yeah. This is your problem.
right. Like, and by the way, like, why should I even help you? Because you were so mean to me. Right. But no. adult Chevee was able to say, like, wow, that takes a lot of courage to own
Mhm.
your stuff.
Yeah.
And yes, I forgive you. And I guess as my life took me through different things, each time I was able to forgive a little bit more.
Yeah. Let go of a layer.
I guess more than forgiveness was more acceptance. And I think that's like a big part of my life trajectory. When you talk about your podcast being totally unexpected, I think the like parenthetical podcast should be like totally accepted.
Yes. And what happened next?
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so things are unexpected, but like what you choose to do with them is in your control.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to like the idea of acceptance. And as soon as you accept, you gain even more control. Whereas it's funny because you think like, oh my God, if I accept it, then I'm letting it be, then I'm just giving that thing the control over me. Where in essence, it really is the opposite.
Yeah. It keeps you hostage when you don't
Right.
accept. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love how you explain that. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that it was, yes, you obviously interacted with these people and with these friends, but it was mostly like an inner work of just facing and accepting. And honestly, the thing that I struggle with the most sometimes is acceptance. And some things are easier to accept than others, but I do find like there are certain holdouts of things that I like still am fighting against. And I'm like, no, I don't accept this. Actually, no.
Right.
Actually, no, I don't accept it. And it's not something, usually I find that it's not something that happened in the past because that you can, listen, it happened already and you can go back and face it and accept it. But it's the things that are happening in real time that haven't resolved itself, that are constant in your face. It's just like, I don't accept this. I am going to go down fighting.
Right.
And that's like my biggest work. And that's what I constantly work on. Stupid therapy is just, it can't happen all at once, right? These slow little tiny layers of just accepting, letting go, accepting, letting go. It's like a layered little
Right.
system. And it's true. Like the more you do that, the more freeing it is and the more you realize where your control actually is, and you can accept or not accept, but like honestly, like you might as well accept because whatever.
I think it's lifelong
Lifelong.
and it's for anybody that is in tune. I always wished I could be. We have a mutual friend. I don't have to say her name, but
Mhm.
we have a mutual friend who is just the most easygoing
Mm.
human
Mhm.
that I know. Like, she's the type that will hang a frame around her child's scribble on the wall because, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
We just have to remember this moment and
Yeah.
take a picture of it. And I
Yeah.
would be like, oh my God, you just scribbled on my wall. Not
Yeah.
okay. And I always wished I could be her because that to me is like,
Ultimate.
everything is good and we just accept everything and we accept everybody. And Shem didn't make me that way.
No.
That's not Chevee Szokovski. As much
Mhm.
as I could wish it was, that's not my trajectory.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we're similar in the sense of like, we're both very strong willed. And I think that's our work forever is going
Yeah.
to be acceptance of
Yeah.
whatever and whoever. It's almost like Mad Libs, like fill in adjective, fill in noun, fill in verb. Like it's really just the same story again and again and again and again. Just
Like
like
it.
change the pronouns or whatnot.
Exactly. It's so, so true. So true. Okay, so take us back to high school. So you're in high school, you had to like figure yourself out because you were put in positions where you were forced to do that. So enter Lubavitch Girls High School, 10th grade, Chicago.
So, and I just have to say, like, again, looking back as an educator that I am now, as a parent that I
Yeah.
am now, the way I see myself then through the lens I have now is I was a
Mhm.
really deeply feeling child,
Yeah.
very sensitive. I really, like, I remember watching movies and like not being able to handle any form of violence or anything
Interesting.
sad, nothing, because I was just like, oh my
Too
goodness. Like,
much.
I remember sobbing at like an older age, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, over Bambi, right? The deer.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Correct. I mean, I don't know why. That is not child appropriate, that
Right.
movie.
Like, I'm saying, you could still say Bambi, and I start to tear up. Like, and I realized, like, that's just who I am. And I think, thank God, I'm able to use it to my advantage. And at this point in my life, I'm able to use it to
Right.
help others as well.
Correct.
But I think I was just I felt things very strongly. I actually once asked a child therapist if some children are just born more dramatic than others, right? Like, you have the kids that they're like live wires.
Drama.
We
Yeah.
all have one.
Mhm.
And those are the kids that we, God willing, one day have the most nachas from. They're the ones that are going to change the world and whatever. But I remember asking this therapist, like, is it nurture or nature? Because you can have two children that are born to the same parents, relatively same time period, and one is just a live wire and the other is just mellow. And like, I think I just didn't inherit the mellow gene. Maybe it's a genetic thing. And I remember her saying some people are born more reactive or less reactive.
Mm.
And I remember like thinking like, that's such a good way to put it. Like, I'm a more reactive type of person.
Yeah.
So enter high school. I
Yeah.
have this chance to like start afresh, start anew. And thank God, it really was a great experience overall. I wasn't living at home. I was living in a dorm with other girls. It had its ups and downs. I'll never forget trudging in the snow in Chicago to like pick up a prescription when I was sick from like the pharmacy in 11th grade. And I'm like,
No, crying.
this is not how it's supposed to be. Like,
No.
I'm supposed to go home. My mommy is supposed to make me some chicken soup and I'm supposed to be in bed and my mom is supposed to take care of me. And I'm not supposed to be trudging in the snow to pick up my own prescription.
I think there's nothing more difficult than being away from home as a teenager when you're supposed to be home and being sick. I mean, it is the worst. It's the
Like, I
worst.
have vivid memories of that. I also have vivid memories of like amazing times I had with friends and independence that I had.
Yeah. I mean, it comes like nothing is ever one thing, right? There's a lot of
Right.
really cool experiences you have going away from home young and having to navigate life that I really cherish.
Right.
And then there's the like, if my sister who was in 7th grade when I was in 10th grade, I don't know, 9th or 10th grade, misses carpool, guess who's in charge of getting her to school? Because we were to get like, I went away from home and then my sister joined me and I was the older sister. So if anything happened, it was my responsibility.
Right.
Me being
that was
15 years
Uber.
old.
And that
Yeah,
was
no
Right.
such thing as Uber. So it was like, how am I getting this kid to school? And it was my responsibility. And I think now it makes you a really innovative, capable person. But in the moment, it's like, this isn't my job. What's happening here?
Right.
I don't want to do my laundry. Like, I don't want to take care of myself.
As my own kids at that age now can literally, I don't know if this is not nice, you can edit it out, but like they literally leave their clothing next to the hamper in the bathroom.
Oh, no.
Forget doing their laundry. They don't even put it in the hamper.
No, but this is typical, right? This is what it's age appropriate.
Sorting like whites and coloreds on my own. And like walking to the corner store to get my own laundry detergent.
Yes.
How did we get here?
How did we get here?
But I guess everything comes like full circle. After I experienced going away, I was like, I would never send my kids away from home until I absolutely have to. So I guess it's like interesting because then sometimes I'm like, I think my kids just need to go away from home for a bit and like learn how to function and then come home.
100%.
If I know anything, I don't know anything. I have a lot of opinions.
We're all just figuring it out. Yeah. And
literally
bumbling through.
Yeah. So high school was great. High school was a really great way to like reinvent myself and figure out who I really am and what I want. And thank God the tables turned. So I went from like being on the bottom to being popular.
So you were popular.
I mean, according to you, I was popular.
According to
I
me,
didn't even know what popular
1000%.
was, to be honest. Like, I was just happy to
I'm saying, like, you were
I was happy to have friends.
Did you feel part of the group?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thank God.
You didn't feel what you felt in middle school. You didn't feel in high school.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was like a complete 180. totally the opposite end of the spectrum of just feeling included and accepted. That was huge. And I think,
You were honestly, you were the life of the party.
well, it didn't take much
But
where we were. I mean,
I know.
I don't know how much time to waste on that, but like
Yeah.
just getting out of the dorm at 10 o'clock at night made you a party animal.
Yeah, no, 1000%.
Like going to like 7-Eleven maybe. It's not
Right.
like we were going clubbing or like anywhere sketchy or dangerous or
Right.
whatever.
Did you find, back to what you said before, that you were like a deeply feeling person? Did you find that you were finding ways to cope with that?
Yeah.
Did a lot of like the fun and the life, like that part of stuff, was that like a protection, or was that,
Totally.
yeah?
So
Okay, so
I
tell me more.
totally felt the need, and I learned this from a very young age, to overcompensate.
Mm-hmm.
I was always compensating. I was always on, because from a young age, I learned that I wasn't accepted. And if you want to be accepted, then you have to be X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
I learned that as, like you said, like a coping mechanism. Like it
Yeah.
really was. So I was always friends with like older people. I was always, I wasn't a suck up, but like, I guess also like I found they're more accepting. Kids are
Yeah.
less accepting, not
Yeah.
little kids, but like
Yeah.
teenagers, like preteens or whatever are less accepting than adults in general. So I always found that like I had friends that were older than me. I was doing things that were totally out of the box, like amazing things, because I had to like prove that I was worthy. And that's so
Yeah.
sad. Like as I say it, like I actually want to cry. Like that's so
Yeah.
sad that
It's so
a kid
much
should ever
pressure.
feel like they have to prove themselves. And I think that's, I mean, I'll talk about it, but I think that's actually what got me to where I am today and what I do career wise, because kids shouldn't have to feel like that. Kids should be accepted. All types. Doesn't matter who or what or when or where. So I definitely compensated, or maybe I was a little bit of an old soul in that sense. And like,
Yeah. I mean, of course, it's part of your personality.
right. Like I remember even as a kid, I hated camp. I couldn't understand why somebody would voluntarily go somewhere to follow rules in the summer. School, you have to. It's a non-negotiable, right? Like I couldn't tell my parents, like, sorry, I'm not going to school. That wasn't even up for discussion. Maybe nowadays it is.
Trust me, nowadays they think
Right,
that it is. There's somehow we're talking about whether we're going to school or not. I'm like, well, how did we get here? Like, this is actually not a discussion.
right. So like going to school was not up for debate, but like summer camp,
Right.
you're going to go somewhere and voluntarily have to follow rules. Like rules were not my thing ever. And I think that was like another piece of it. I felt so pressured that like, stop telling me what to do. I can't take
Yeah.
it. Like I physically can't. And so I ended up doing like really cool out of the box things. Like at
Right.
13 years old, I went to Vilnius, Lithuania to be a junior counselor in like a Jewish overnight camp where I was actually like a counselor of kids that were older than me, right?
Right.
Like they were 15 and I was only 13, but like I was like sharing life experience with them and like Torah and whatever. Like
Right.
which is like so cool, but it came from a place of A, I don't have friends to go with my own age. So like I'm on my own here.
Mm.
B, I don't want to go somewhere where they're going to tell me what to do. So let me go to a place where I could do the telling, right? I could tell others what to do.
And also, like, navigating the social aspect of camp is also like
Also,
overwhelming.
right. Exactly.
It's like, oh, I have to now navigate this social scene and with kids from all over, and there's
Exactly.
cliques and there's groups, and I always was really overwhelmed by that.
Right. So I did go to sleepaway camp. I did have that experience. I went for one summer for 4 weeks for the first session and I loved it. And
You
made the
did?
mistake. I did. Okay, maybe loved it is like
No, but
a
that's so
little.
great. Like, I went to camp and really didn't thrive in camp.
I think I really did like it. I don't have many memories other than like making scrunchies for many activities, like on the porch.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Like, did we do anything else? I don't know. But I had a good time that summer. I must have, because I convinced my parents the next summer to let me go for 2 months. And
Oh,
that was
bad.
the worst.
Yeah.
I don't think any child at that age belongs away from home for 8 weeks. I don't know. Maybe I was weird, but like, it was not for me.
No, it's a lot.
I left after 6 weeks. I forced them to take me home. on visiting day of the second session. I left after 6 weeks and I swore I was never going back in any capacity. And many years later, after seminary, when I had an offer as a head counselor there, and I remember saying, I swore I was never going back in any capacity. I was like 11 years old, but I swore I was never going back in any capacity, and I will keep that promise.
You're like,
So
nope.
I end up doing like random things, like going to Vilnius, Lithuania and whatever. And I ended up going there every single summer for like a bunch of years. And then I went to China and I went to Moscow and I went to Hong Kong. And I did really, really cool out of the box things because I got used to like not fitting in and not doing what everybody else is doing. So that was like my high school experience. Seminary, you and I went together to the greatest Chabad teachers college, as they call it, Beit Chana and Spot.
Oh,
Great experience.
what a world unto itself.
Literally, like we need like a whole nother episode just for that. But like
Literally.
really, I was all about just like, how can I get on the next bus to Yerushalayim? Like just what excuse can I come up with to get to Jerusalem next?
Yeah.
Like that was really my whole year. Like I wish I could say like I embraced the learning and the growth and the
No,
not
I
at all.
I didn't either. It's so interesting. I was actually thinking about this because you were coming on the podcast and I was just thinking about all the different experiences we had together. And I was thinking about seminary where we became really good friends, but I was not an adventurer. And I don't think I did any weekends with you.
No, because you had family in Israel.
I had family in Kfar Chabad.
I didn't. So I was forced to figure
But this is the weird thing is that I had family and I loved going to my family. It just felt to me like a hug. It was good food and it was my mom's sister. So there's nothing closer to your mom than a mom's sister.
Right.
And I got along with my cousins, even though like they didn't speak English and I didn't. I spoke pretty good Hebrew back then. Now it's a disaster. And any opportunity that I had, I would go there. And I did a few little random things, but that's what I mainly did. And you did the craziest things. You ended up at the craziest experiences and homes and houses. And like, there's a little part of me that's like, I'm like, what a loser. Why didn't I do that too? I didn't have that full experience of like going to these random houses and like sleeping on the floor with a bunch of kids from a random family. But then when I really think about it, I'm like, no part of me wanted that. It's so funny because I am somebody who loves adventure and loves experiences, but I also am an introvert and I also like my comforts. And it was just too much for me to like not have plans, just go to Yerushalayim and figure it out. Like that, I wasn't doing that. And you were.
I was like,
yeah,
I would figure it out. And if it meant like sleeping in the bus station, it never actually happened. But like, that was always like my fallback
I know.
plan. Like whatever.
So we actually had, it's so funny because we became really, really good friends, but we had very different experiences.
Totally.
In seminary. Like when we were in Spot, like
right.
It's a whole world unto itself.
Remember that photographer guy? The things you remember. My God. Yeah.
My favorite seminary story, and I literally tell this to everybody, and it's about you, but I don't even know if you remember this story, but it had such an impact on me. Remember we were there like 2 days early because we had like a different flight and we were like getting used to, it was like a bunch of us that were there. Everyone else was coming. And it was the first few days and people were trickling in. And it was such a culture shock. Like people don't understand. Like you go to seminary in Israel, but it's an American seminary for Americans. And the accommodations are not totally American, but more American. We went to an Israeli seminary that accepted Americans. And so it was no frills. I mean, our beds were like army cots, not a joke, with a foam mattress, like the yellow.
That's actually what I sent my kids to sleepaway camp with, to put on top of their
bed. No, so that was
our
bed.
I didn't realize, I think it's called like an egg crate or something.
Yes.
I didn't realize that that's like a mattress topper.
Yeah, I know.
That was our
And you got lucky if you managed to scavenge 2 of those.
Right.
Foam
I never
things.
did.
I never got one. So we're like, the food was just like horrific. Everything was just like, what is happening? How did we get here?
Right.
And I remember, I think we were in your dorm, in your room, and you stub your toe on that stupid metal bed, and you're like, that's it, I'm going home. You're like, I'm done, And I always tell that story of like the straw that broke the camel's back, or like the stubbing of the toe, like it's actually like can send you to
Right.
flying to places that you can never imagine because it hurts so bad. But we were already at the end of the rope and we're like, we're done. We're out of here. Like, that's it.
You make me sleep on an egg crate. You don't provide a dryer. I have to hang all my laundry.
No.
Forget the fact that you have to do your own laundry, but no, you have to actually hang it to dry, everything, right?
And
Not
you actually
just
don't even have hot water unless the dude Shemesh is on at the exact right time.
right.
So
And
forget
if you
about
got
a
into shower
shower.
first, because the hot water heaters weren't the same size as the one I just put in my basement. So it's not like
No.
75 gallons or whatever. It's like
It
4
was
gallons.
such a good experience because it's like a rite of passage, but it was
Totally.
brutal, and I would never want to repeat that ever, ever again.
Amazing.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
amazing. So yeah, it's funny again, like it's amazing how you block out certain things and like the things you do remember are just overall, I think I had a great year.
Yeah.
I
Same.
I can't remember much that we learned or did other than picking up and leaving every weekend or trying to
Right.
get permission to leave on the weeks that we
But
weren't.
school was actually intense. Like we were in school from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I don't know if you
Yeah, and
remember
didn't we
that.
have like some night stuff every once in a while?
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
had to
So
go to
it
acting
was like
class or something.
the
It
school
was
was
intense.
actually intense. It was a
Right.
lot.
I also remember like it felt a little bit like another year of high school because our high school
Yeah.
years were pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
so I remember like girls that were coming from other high schools were like really super impressed. Like, oh my God, this is my year to like really learn and grow. And I was
We
like,
came from an
this is
intense high
just like
school.
year number
Yeah.
5.
Yes.
But it was a great experience. I loved it. My only regret that year, and I say it to anyone who will listen, is that I didn't spend more of my parents' money.
Oh my gosh. Same.
Like that was like the last hurrah that I had my parents' credit card to swipe, and I was like so
All
responsible.
responsible. Like
Using it for emergencies. But anyway, thank God. So
yeah.
that was that, and it was a really prestigious seminary in Chabad.
Yeah.
People joked like, "Oh, if you go there, then you'll get the best shidduch and whatever." It's just so funny because it so didn't matter.
These things don't matter.
And it's so interesting how what's important to you at certain times in your life are so insignificant in the bigger picture. And I guess another theme that comes up again and again is that
Yeah.
how important is whatever it is that I'm dealing with right now? How much is it going to matter to me
Perspective.
in
Yeah.
a month from now, in a year from now, in 10 years, in 20 years? And I guess to like live life
That's
accordingly.
a really good exercise to do in your current life. When you're freaking out about something or something's really intensely taking your attention or weighing on you, it's like a nice exercise to be like, okay, right now this is very big, and not to deny that, but like in a month, what is this going to feel like? In a year, what is it going to feel like? The problem is when you have things like, for me, I can give my own example, like infertility, that just like it will still matter. It still matters. You could go 5 years, 10 years, so those are the challenges that are really hard because it's actually so triggering to look into the future because it doesn't change. Maybe you get used to it or your acceptance kind of evolves,
Right.
but that's something that I always contend with. It's like, actually, this is never going away. Like this still matters.
This exercise actually works better with like things that action plans.
Yeah.
Something that needs your attention, that needs a further action, right? So
yeah, like, or even like a struggle with your kid, a stage that your child's in,
exactly.
or a work struggle, or even a relationship struggle.
What I've learned anyway is that sometimes it only matters right now, but right now is the most important. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It might not matter in 20 years from now, but it matters right now. And right now it's important.
And we need to pay attention to that. Yeah, correct.
Right.
Correct.
I think it's also, it's a great activity or whatever to do just to like put things in their places. Because sometimes when you have a lot of things at once, it's very overwhelming. And you're like, how am I going to get through all of it or whatever? And it's like, hold on a second. What do I need to do now? Okay, this has to be taken care of now. This could be done a few months from now. This can be done in a few years from now. And this could like just stay on the to-do list forever.
You know, my kids would come home from school and they all went to the same school here in Bozeman, which that's fabulous. And I really love that they would talk about this in school and they would start to help train their mind, and it like something would happen and they would go like, okay, little problem, medium problem, big problem. And if it felt like a big problem, then they would talk about that. Well, okay, let's work this through. But it was a way to like contextualize, because it's so easy to make a mountain out of a molehill, especially when you're 7 years old.
Right.
I think it's so helpful if the younger we can give these kids this language and this understanding of like how to place what we're feeling and how to look at the bigger picture, not to invalidate feelings. Obviously, that's not what the purpose is or not what's happening.
It's actually very validating.
It's very validating because it's like, okay, like, and then if it's a little problem, it's like, okay, so how do we solve this little problem? How do we solve this medium problem? And I really always just like, every one of my kids went through that stage where they would learn that. And I thought it was great. I don't remember learning that as a kid. So.
No, not at all. And it's funny you said not learning as a kid. I was actually thinking about this concept, like not learning about this as a kid, and like how different raising kids are in our generation versus how we grew up. And I think it's even more different and more drastic than between us and our parents. It's just such a different world.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the greatest things about the world we're raising kids in is that there is so much language around this stuff. There's so much acknowledgement. Just the words that kids use nowadays.
Like autonomy, like your 6-year-old or 5-year-old coming home from school and telling you that they have autonomy. I'm like, oh, is that so?
Like, we're learning about the topic of consent. Like, I don't consent to being told now. Like, I think that's amazing. Like, that she really used it in context, but like, they use it back at you. Or my 2.5-year-old who, when his older sibling said, womp womp, he looked at them and he goes, saying womp womp is so insensitive.
Yes.
We didn't have those words. No. We didn't have that context. And I think our kids are so lucky to be growing up. It's a scary world that they're growing up in. There's so much at them being thrown at them, even just not that they turn on, but things that just come to them and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, the positive to that is that there's also so much good. Having that kind of language and understanding and whatever is incredible to start at such a young age. So
truly,
yes, like everything, it's a
mixed bag.
Yeah, mixed bag. Exactly. That's our bedtime.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally.
Anyway, so getting back to seminary was great. Finished seminary.
Did you feel what's the word I'm looking for? Because you not like what you mentioned, like you felt not included or isolated or didn't fit in. Like, did you feel that at all in seminary?
Totally. Remember, I chose a seminary that I would fit into also.
Okay.
And I grew up a little bit. So I had my values and what I wanted and where I saw myself and how I wanted to be, and aligned myself with people that had similar values, for lack of another word. But I think that's what it is. And so from that point on, great. My life really, thank God, was really great for many years. Finished the seminary thing. I schlepped you back to Morristown for a year. I started a school at 21 years old. Like I said, always overcompensating. Like everybody else is a teacher, I'm going to be a director at 21. It was just really part
It's fascinating to look back at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in the moment, it's what it is.
It was so normal that you're 21 years old and you're starting a preschool. But like looking back, I'm like, even like have the like guts to do that.
Right.
And I'm like, I guess I was young.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was young. And on the other hand, like I also had life experience. So I felt like confident in that regard.
And you did a good job.
Yeah. Thank God. Thank God. You know, it was a passion and I learned a lot going into it and whatever. So then I get married, and I married an amazing guy who really checked off, I think, all of the things I had on my list. Kind, honest, good looking. I mean, all of it.
All of it. All of it. Ah.
And being that I went to Beit Chana and Tzvat, I was a prime candidate for shidduchim, as if it mattered at all. It did not.
Right.
But anyway, I married Meir and went through the Chabad dating system. So we really dated for marriage, and a lot of our dating was revolved around shared values of what was important to us. And we really did share a lot of those values, religious values, family values, the whole gamut. And we got married. Amazing. Thank God. We had a child 10 months later, our Menzel, who's now 15. And like many Chabad couples, we wanted to start our life and find a Chabad house position where we would serve as a shliach and shlucha, emissaries, or whatever you want to translate it as. And this was a shared value of ours that we would spread this mission and bring Judaism to anybody and everybody. Like I wasn't even particular about who or what. I'm passionate and I just want to share what I have. And that was very important to me, to marry somebody who is in that same space. In the interim, so I was running a school and Meir was at the same time working and looking for a place to start a Chabad. And we were unique in the sense that, like, we didn't grow up on shlichus. So it's not like we had parents that had Chabad houses that could just bring us down, or family or whatever. We were both used to being our own people.
Yeah.
From a very young age, myself and Meir too, we were used to making it on our own, proving ourselves for who we are, not relying on our families, our friends, or this or that. We are who we are, who we are, who we are. And that's how we'll...
And you've worked hard to get there. Like you...
Yeah. It was very intentional. It wasn't just by mistake, love us for
Right.
who we are. Like,
Right.
we definitely put a lot into that. So we finally find a place and we're like so excited because it's a pretty big deal because there's Chabad
It's
everywhere.
not easy.
So to find a spot to start like a new Chabad is pretty cool. We're really excited. And my husband started questioning a lot of his previous beliefs and didn't feel comfortable anymore signing himself up to do a position of preaching to others something that he might not himself have fully believed. And so...
Plot twist.
Totally unexpected. Before Chavie had
Yes.
a blog or a podcast. What do we do now? So like our
Wow.
whole lives led up to this point of like, this is what we're doing with our life. And now it's like, okay, not. We're not. But we don't know what we are. Right? We know what we're not, but we don't know what we are.
Right. But if I may, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you weren't questioning, right? It was your husband was questioning. So there was not only did that trajectory have to like take a turn or put a pin in it and pause it, but you were still wanting that and you were still in that space of not questioning. So now it's like, okay, you're not doing what you expected to do, but it wasn't that because you changed. It was because your spouse isn't on board anymore.
Right.
That is like, you know that emoji where your brain explodes?
Yeah, that. That, exactly.
Yeah, I like that emoji. I use it a lot.
Yeah, so now I'm forced to like think about future, right? Which I've always said, like, future is an F word. We don't go there. We don't say it. We don't think it. Like, just no future. But I need to think about the future because we have a kid. So it's not like it's just like, oh, we're married for a year and a bit and like whatever. Like, we have a child. Do I want to stay married to somebody who doesn't necessarily share my beliefs? Beliefs were always at the top of my list of priorities and importance. I put it all out there, right? That's pretty much all we discussed while we were dating. Like, so like, where do we go from here? And obviously it took a lot of time, a lot of therapy and compromise to figure it out. And I think the most interesting thing was when really put to it, we realized how much more we have in common than just that. And so it wasn't like, oh, it's not important to me anymore. But all of a sudden, I saw things that I wouldn't have necessarily noticed how in common we were because I would have never been forced to.
Mm, that's really fascinating. But like, how did you? But like, how did you do it? Like, on the one hand, listen. I know you so well, and we're in each other's lives so much. But I still like. How do you? It's so triggering. Let's just start there,
So
right?
it's so triggering, right?
It's so triggering. So you have to move. Like, first of all, you have to be in the trigger, right? And then, what's the next step?
So it's similar to like the infertility thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
do you marry your spouse just to have children? Children is,
totally.
we've spoken about this. There's so much that's so important to me. But is that the only thing? Is it the hill I want to die on? Right? Is it
Mhm.
like it's that or else I'm gone? And
Mhm.
that's something
Mhm.
that like will come up again and again and again. Like, is that the only? And I think when you're forced to look deep and you realize it's not the only and that there's so much more and people are so multifaceted,
Yeah.
you're able to
Wow.
come to a place of acceptance. And I can say, like, I have the most amazing, honest, kind, sensitive, hardworking partner, father to my children. And all of that has nothing to do with religion or religious beliefs or like extent of belief or whatever. And at the same time, this was like his struggle. Like, he
Mhm.
wasn't putting it on me. He wasn't like, oh, because I'm struggling with this, you have to blah, blah, blah. Like, not at all. God forbid. If anything, it
But
was
I
like,
think that's also unique
yes, very, very,
because
yes,
I think that that's not a given, right? Like, to be
definitely.
able to say, like, this is my struggle. I'm going to figure this out and work this through. You continue doing what you're doing. I respect
Right,
it. But you did that for each other.
correct. And I think that's a big part of like honesty. You face something for what it is, and then you can actually accept it versus letting it
Pretending it's
pretending
fine or pushing it under the
or
rug.
pushing under the rug. It'll keep coming out, and you'll never get to see all the other facets if you keep pushing it down. But
Yeah.
if you let it out, give it a space to breathe, and are able to see it for what it is, it's not as scary. And I think that's true with any struggle, that nothing we have in our lives is one dimensional. Everything
What do
has,
I always say? Nothing is ever one thing.
right? Nothing is ever
Nothing
one
is
thing.
ever one thing. I made that up and I'm so proud of it. I mean, I'm sure somebody has said it before in other ways, but like,
Yes,
it's my little
exactly.
brain.
Nothing is one thing.
Nothing's
Exactly.
ever one thing. And I think when we realize that, and we can embrace it, like, I forget who I was talking to, but I was like, even think about the most joyous thing that could ever happen. You're marrying off your kid, or I don't know, like something like the hostage is coming home, right? Like, to put it, but then it's not just one thing. It's so layered. It's so faceted. Marrying off your kid, there's so much nostalgia. There's so much separation. There's probably fear. There's like so many things that happen with the joy. So the same thing in a marriage. This is a hill I will die on. Marriages are complex.
Yes.
And
And they're
marriages,
supposed to be.
they're supposed to be, exactly. And it takes you, the marriage is not something that just happens by chance, and you can't coast in your marriage if you want it to thrive. You could
Correct.
coast in your marriage, that's fine.
I think I would even say that about any relationship. You need to ride those waves if you want to get closer. If you want a
Yeah.
static, Mayor always says, he's like, you know what like flat looks like on a heart monitor, right?
Dead. Yeah.
Dead. We don't want flat. As much as we're scared of the downs, and then, obviously we are overjoyed at the ups, but the alternative,
And then you're scared of the ups because after the ups is going to come a big
other shoe is going to drop. You know that well.
Literally, I'm like, wow, we're doing really well right now. This is going to crash and burn at some point so bad.
Right. And like, by the way, the other shoe doesn't have to drop.
No,
You
it
also
doesn't have,
learn.
it
Like,
doesn't have to
it's
be.
fascinating, right? Just because you're at a high doesn't mean you have to go to a really low next.
You don't have to, but oftentimes what I say is that it doesn't have to, and it's true. And oftentimes you can ride away for a really long time, but oftentimes you do go from high to low. And I think the higher you are, the bigger opportunity there is to like really come crashing down. But the message that I've learned is that we don't have to be scared of that because we'll be okay.
Right.
Like you can crash and burn, the other shoe can drop. And if you work on your relationship, there's safety in that. And you know that, okay, this sucks right now. And we're actually not friends right now, but that's okay because that's part of the wave and that's part of the relationship. That's part of the experience. And it doesn't have to be scary. Like you don't have to live in fear of that.
Right.
I think when we live in fear of the crash and burn, you end up having a very stressful relationship because you're always scared of what's going to happen next.
I think I'll take it a step further. And this is something that I think I learned, and I think the world is learning together with me. I'm not so special that I learned this, but
we all learn it
we're
together.
all learning the idea of like holding two conflicting emotions at the same time. And I think that we can hold joy and we can hold sadness at the same time. We can hold grief at the same time as holding miraculous joy at the same time.
Yeah. You know what else you can hold at the same time? You can be overwhelmed and grateful at the same time. I think that's such a hard one, but that is my like ultimate. Like you can be overwhelmed with your life and be really maxed out, but still be grateful for what you have. It doesn't have to cancel each other out. And so often we think like, oh, if you're struggling, but how could I struggle? I'm so grateful for what I have. You know what? They coexist.
Correct. And anything worthwhile is going to be hard. So learn it young.
Takes
what
work.
I say? You want meaningful relationships? It's going to take a lot of work. You want connection? It's going to take work. You want to climb the ladder? It's going to take work. If we have to sum up life lessons, it's A, you can hold two conflicting things at the same time and you won't combust. B, anything worthwhile is going to take effort. Nothing comes for free. I was just listening to a podcast. It was the Dan Senor podcast, Call Me Back. And Nadav, he had a journalist on talking about Israel and whatever. And he said something about the price you pay for values. And I thought it was such a good concept. Obviously, he was referring to Israel and its values and unfortunately the price it's been paying since October 7th. But just that concept in general, if you have your values, you're going to pay a price for them. They're not always going to be there because they're values. They're not going to be free. And not in a bad way, but in such an exhilarating way. They're so precious. Diamonds are expensive because they're rare. If, diamonds were everywhere, they wouldn't be worth anything. So I think just having that to anchor you is a gift. And I think I've learned that tremendously, A, from therapy, but B, also from Hasidus and Torah learning. And just recently I gave a Rosh Chodesh class and it was a sikha that the Rebbe was talking about the moon and the sun when they were created and they were created the same. And then the moon opened her mouth and she was diminished and whatever. It was like a back and forth and a back and forth. The point of it was that from God's perspective, the moon and the sun had the same amount of light and they were the same. Only from creation perspective were they different. And I think if we can tap into that godliness of everything is the same, everything is meant to be, everything has a purpose. And it's only our perception that changes things, that puts things in boxes, that catastrophizes or minimizes or whatever. I think that's huge.
Yeah. Okay. There's a couple things that you said that I want to like really hone in on. So first of all, okay, your values come at a price. I think that I've never heard it being said in such a clear way. And I think there's such value in that. And I think it's something that I hope we all take away from this is like, if you really believe in something and you really value something, it's going to cost you.
Right.
It's going to cost you. And I think oftentimes we try to navigate life without cost, without sacrifice, or we're trying to avoid compromise or sacrifice or hard work or the price you pay. That like no good deed goes unpunished. No, when you do something good, oftentimes you pay a price for it because of its value, because
Exactly.
it's valued. It's like such a flip, such a narrative shift, but such a powerful one. It's like, no, you're paying a price because of the value.
Right.
Something that's valuable costs a lot. You have to sacrifice for. If you want to buy a diamond, you're going to pay a lot of money. You're going to have to give something up because it's so precious. So I think if we can all just like in our lives really decide, sometimes you don't even know. And this is a really good exercise, right? It's like decide what your values are, decide what's important for you, and know that it might cost you. And actually, it will cost you.
Right.
And figure that out and embrace it and actually see it as something precious and as a value, not as like an unfortunate or like, oh, this is not worth it because I have to pay for it. It's
Right.
not worth it because it's too hard. Oftentimes, take a closer look, pause for a second and be like, you know what? It's costing me so much because it's that much more worth it.
Right.
And it's that much more of value.
Exactly.
I really, really like, wow, that resonated a lot. And I want to ask you again, shut me down if it's too personal, but was there a boundary? Was there ever like a time where you're like, hard no, if this line gets crossed, I'm out? I guess my question is like, we all evolve, we all change, and we also, there's so many things about a person, multifaceted. And when one thing goes away, it allows you to see so many other things. But religion is kind of a big one. And I wonder, how did you navigate that? Like, was there a hard line for you? Or what did you have to tell yourself to navigate so you also felt safe in this process? Like, what did you do? And how did you work this through? And I'm sure it was a long process.
So it was and it wasn't. It was in the sense of, okay, so we're at this place of like, okay, what do we do with our life now?
Yeah.
Like our
Yeah.
whole life, every step we took was towards this lifelong goal. It's a
Yeah. I
life,
guess that was my other question. Like, what happened next? Right?
right?
Like, what did you do?
Exactly. So, like, what now? We trained for, we went to the Harvards of Shlichus schools. Now what? Right? Now
Right.
what?
Right.
And I think, exactly what you were saying, that something worthwhile is going to take work. And I realized after thinking about it and facing it for what it was, that it was really worthwhile.
Were you ever like, like when we're first hit with something really big, like for me, infertility or whatever, there's like the anger, the denial. Like, did you go through those
Oh, totally.
stages? Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the grieving process. And I had to
Yeah.
grieve. I had to
Of
grieve a
course.
life that I thought I was going to
That you
have.
thought you were having. Listen, we both went through that in such different ways, right?
Right,
Thinking our life is going to be one way and
right,
it just like getting turned on its head and then figuring out what's next.
right. So I definitely went through all those stages and I did it individually and together. So individually, I had to make sure that what I had was worthwhile to me, that I really wanted it. And to remember, and I think this is a big one just in general, when faced with any challenge, is to remember your choice in everything.
Ooh, that's so big. Say that again.
To remember your choice in
Yes.
whatever it is that you're dealing with. As
Mhm.
soon as you feel that you have a choice, there's a certain freedom and I don't know, to be like more esoteric, like a
Mhm.
certain opening of the vessel that
Mhm.
you make yourself in the process. As soon as you say, I have the choice, I don't have to, I
Right? You have
want
the
to.
choice to stay, to go.
And your choice might be between bad and worse. Like, I'm
Uh-huh.
not saying it's a choice between good and bad. It
Mhm.
could be bad and badder. But as soon as you remember your choice, I think you're able to do anything.
You know what? That is huge because I think the second you say or feel like I don't have a choice, it's so claustrophobic, like it like
Constricting. Constricting.
constricting, like
Yeah,
it closes you in because you're like, I don't have a choice. But really find your choice in your situation.
correct.
Find your choice.
Correct. And I believe, like we learn in Tanya about how we have a chelak Elokai mimal mamish, right? What do we have? A piece of God. He created us with a piece of him inside. That to me is choice. Just like Hashem was able to create, he gives us that ability to create, and that is choice. We create our own realities with choice.
Yeah.
As soon as you don't feel like you have a choice, you're cutting yourself off from the ability to create, or at least
Wow.
create something meaningful, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I said I did this all on my own and I just got to this amazing place like on my own.
No,
I did
well, we
not.
know it takes work. Yeah.
Tons of work. I had an amazing therapist. Mayor's an amazing human being that it has always been, honesty has been our number one value. And sometimes honesty hurts. Sometimes
Yeah.
I don't need to know so much, right?
I was like,
Stop being so
don't tell
honest.
me that.
But
But in the long
we
run,
know
it
that in
is.
the long run, that is definitely better and whatever. So thank God we were able to work things out. I think there's also a difference between belief and practice. So the practice, aside from, now not starting a Chabad and taking that path, the practice didn't change as much. So
Right.
I think that's unique unto our situation, whereas for others, it may be different. But we basically went back to the drawing board. And again, like, what are our values? What do we share? And that kind of was the way we wanted to figure out what our next steps were, like where we
Yeah.
were going from here. Because
Yeah.
even if we're not starting a Chabad, which was a shared aspiration of ours, we can still find shared values that can inform our next decisions. So we both felt that education was really important to both of us. Me, obviously, being a teacher, education is, number one.
Number one. Yeah.
But Mayor as well felt that education was really important. For me, the Judaic component was very important. For Mayor, the secular was very important, which basically brought us to the world of modern Orthodoxy, which blends the two.
Hmm.
So we moved to Teaneck, New Jersey, where we have lived happily ever after for the last 11 years, signed our kids up to co-ed day school, which never in my wildest dreams would I ever think I would send my kids to.
So is this where like compromise comes in?
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
Okay.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah, this was compromise. And
Yeah.
it was very much compromise because it wasn't 100% what I wanted, and it
And it
wasn't
wasn't 100%
100%
what he
what
wanted.
Mayor wanted. So it wasn't
Exactly.
like I could even say like, oh, well, you got what you wanted, so now I get what I want. Like, no, actually not. We're both not getting 100%.
You're both having to give up and you're both giving up to get, basically.
Correct. And again, like anything worthwhile, we were willing to do that. And thank God, amazing, amazing school. I mean, I serve on the board of my children's elementary school, Yavna Academy in Paramus, the most incredible educational institution I've ever seen in my life. And I'm so grateful that my children, one graduated, but one is still there. They're receiving such an incredible education with, I've learned so much just as a parent, as an educator, as a human, actually, from the school. So
Beautiful.
we definitely
Yeah.
are so grateful for where Hashem took us. But again, we found ourselves, or I should say, I'm talking for myself here, because I feel like it bothered me more. It doesn't bother Mayor as much. I don't know if it's introvert versus extrovert or what, but here again, I find myself back to where I started
On the
about fitting
outside.
in, of not having the safety net of this is what I know, this is what's comfortable. No part of this is comfortable. Exploring social circles when you're in your 30s is
A
even
nightmare.
worse than doing it when you're 13.
In middle
Let me tell
school.
you, like,
Yeah.
because you know what? You have like the time component where like you don't have all day to spend with people in school where you can get to know them and whatever. And so you're like, oh my God, where did I just land? Like, where am I? And thank God we did have some friends in the community. We had some family. So it was a little bit of a softer landing,
Right.
because we definitely had a few people that we shared some history with, not many, but thank God. And we were really determined to make it work. We were going to make it work at whatever cost. And cost, sheesh. Nobody told us that. We were very naive, but thank God, we made ourselves a vessel, and thank God Hashem provided and continues to provide. Spoiler alert, we found our people. We have friends.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about that. I feel like this is going to be relatable for a lot of people, like finding your group, your people when you're an adult. You move or your circumstances change or you change and you're like looking for a new group and looking to find your people. And also at the same time, you're feeling on the outside, you're feeling other, you're feeling like you don't fit in. And if you've experienced that before, it's probably very triggering and bringing up old emotions. And so, how did you do it? Like, what did you do to find your people?
The flip side of it triggering you, I guess the good news is that you've worked through it already.
Right.
So it's really the same thing. So
Right.
you have that like confidence in the sense of like, I can do this. Like,
Mhm.
I know this, right?
Been here before. I
Been
know
here
what to
before.
do.
I know what to do, whatever. That's number one. Number two, I think after going through like a huge life change, circling back to what we were talking to about in the beginning about acceptance, I think it changed me in a way of having so much more acceptance for myself as well as other people that I didn't have that same need to fit in.
Like the urgency of like, I must fit in.
I actually like really like me. So like I don't feel the need to fit in. Like if you like me, cool, come be my friend. You could be one of my people. But like if not, that's okay too. Like you do you. And I think approaching it from that perspective A, makes you a more desirable person, in my opinion. But B, I think it helps you focus on what's needed more. It kind of like weeds out a lot of things because
Mhm.
you know what you're focused on. And I think that we don't talk enough about that. We talk a lot about fitting in, but we don't talk enough about find many circles. Why do you have to fit into one circle?
Oh.
Again, people are
Like
multifaceted,
we're multifaceted. We don't have
right?
to be one thing.
I don't know. Why do you have to find the same? Why do you have to find a herd? Find lots of different herds. I don't know. And I think that was fascinating to like move to another community at this stage in life and realize like it's all the same. Okay, so in that community, everybody is chasing that. And in that community, everybody is chasing that. Oh, and in this community, they're all chasing that too. And if you don't go to the same shul and the same camp and the same school and and then what? And then what? Talk it through. And
Yeah.
then what?
Worst case scenario.
Right. And I just think that we don't put enough emphasis on don't find your circle, find many circles because no one thing is going to summarize who you are or whatever. You're more than that.
Yeah. I really relate to that because I've never actually been part of a group. I've always like had friends from many different groups and I oftentimes is the common denominator between a lot of different
Right.
friend groups. So I really really relate to that. On the other hand, I also did sometimes feel like I was weird or I didn't fit in or I was just always a little bit on the outside. Like I did have those kinds of feelings, but it's so crazy that you say this because I was having a conversation with my therapist. I don't think my therapist realizes how much I talk about him. I'm like, one day we're going to have to reveal who this person is.
Right.
It was like front and center of every conversation that I ever
Oh
have.
my God, brilliant. I think you need to have a podcast with him.
I know. I'm like
One
actually
episode.
scared. I don't think he would agree. He's the most under the radar person you could ever meet, but he's been my therapist for 12 years. So like we've been through the gamut. But literally like 2 weeks ago I was talking about this with him about first of all like the herd mentality, like it's actually built in us as a survival.
Correct.
Many years ago like you did need to have your pack or your herd or it
For sure.
wasn't safe.
And it does have a place, but it's
It
not
does have a place.
all and be all.
Correct, correct. And it's actually our job to like break out of that mold and to know that it's actually is safe to be different and to have a lot of different facets about you. But one of the things I was discussing with him, and I'm curious your thoughts, and this is how it came up for me. It's like, you know how we say, like, I'm not for everybody, and not everybody's gonna like me. And I deal with that a lot because I'm like a more of a public facing person and I share a lot and I put myself out there, especially with this podcast. Like it's very, very vulnerable. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I say to myself, well, I'm not going to be for everybody and not everybody's going to like my podcast and not everybody wants to listen to 2 hours and not everybody's going to like my interview style and not everybody's going to like the guests that I choose or whatever. And it's so easy to say, but then I find myself like, it actually really, it really matters to me. Like I want it.
Good.
Yeah, I want everyone to like, I'm not a typical people pleaser. Like I don't have that way about moving through the world. So it surprises me when I'm like, oh, that actually hurts when the feedback is like, that wasn't for me. I'm like, well, why not? Let me convince you, you know?
Right.
And so I do find it easier said than done to be like, I'm not for everybody. But like when you actually encounter somebody really either showing you or telling you passively or not so passively that you're not for them, I find that it still hurts.
So that goes back to what we were saying about like the holding two emotions at the same time.
Yeah.
It can hurt and
But you're still okay.
right?
Yeah.
Like it could be both.
Yeah.
It could, and it is.
So that's what we ended up talking about. It's like holding space for both of those things because it is true. Like we are created to be that Hashem created us this way, right? To want to need to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, to be part of a group, to be accepted, to be loved. Like we have those things within us. And Hashem also created us to not have an ego, but to put ego in its place and to notice what our triggers are, notice what we struggle with and work through them. So both of those things are part of this journey that we're put here on earth to do.
Right.
And basically you're human. Basically you're human for wanting that and for needing that. And you're human, meaning you're not going to always get that. And so not everybody's going to like you because that's also human.
Exactly.
So it's like both of those things navigating.
And that is where the work lies.
Yeah.
Figuring out your place in it. How much is this going to impact my decision and how much is this going to impact my decision? Because they're opposing. Which one am I going to give more weight to? And at which time? Sometimes that emotion is going to take it front and center and sometimes it'll be that one. But I think the acceptance piece, again, like, I don't know, maybe I sound like a broken record. Maybe I
No. I mean, this is what we need to hear like 1,000 times over.
The word acceptance.
It's never enough. We're never.
Really
so remember, it's a lifelong journey.
Strongly about it. Just accept it for what it is. And it just takes away the enormity of it.
Okay, but being a strong-willed and minded person, which we both have in common, acceptance is really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's really hard. So you're saying like, this is what you do, this is what you work through, but how are you doing it? Because this is not, is it like something that is it a mantra that you keep repeating to yourself? Is it a narrative? Is it like, because I know it's not easy.
No.
Like it's not, and it's not coming naturally.
By the way, who said work is supposed to be easy?
Exactly. It's not.
I just had this conversation with somebody recently about just careers, right? Like who said your work and your passion are supposed to be the same thing? Where did that come? Like,
where did that come from?
It's a joy when it does. I am so blessed that what I do every day is a passion of mine. Like I get paid for the passion. That's incredible. But who said that that's like a given? It's actually not.
Right. And it's actually a luxury. If you get to do the thing that you love to do, some people just have to go to work to make ends meet and it's not their passion.
Right. Exactly. So I feel like just in general, like the concept of work, struggle, whatever you want to call it, it's by definition usually not supposed to be easy.
Why did we decide?
Because that's what Hashem made us, right? Specifically because of the struggle. If he didn't want struggle, he would have created us as angels. Hashem created an imperfect world. We just started, again, from Bereshit, right? A couple weeks ago. Hashem created this world. He created us like this. He created us with potential. He created us to be able to do this.
You know the Dr. Seuss quote that I say all the time? I say it in a lot of times when I am giving a lecture, I'll like end off with this quote. I don't remember it totally by heart, but it ends off saying, nobody said it would be easy, but it'll be worth it. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Who decided we want it to be smooth sailing and easy? Right. And I know There is a point in time where it's appropriate for us to move through life with a little bit more ease and not everything has to be a head-on struggle.
Right.
It's okay to want that and it's okay to work towards that. And I think it's important to understand that there will be times in your life that are more flowy and more easeful. And then there are times where that conflict happens. And that's usually your growth points. The growth points are conflict and a little bit more struggle, which hopefully will then lead to a period of more ease. And then it's this constant wave and flow.
Or if we want to even think about like how God created the world in 6 days and then he rested. Yeah, it could be hard. I don't know if I said that 6 times, but then easy. Swap the words work for rough.
Like there's a time and place for stopping and resting and breathing.
But Lahavdil, unfortunately, Rachel Holland Goldberg was just saying the same thing when the hostages were released. There's a time for this, there's a time for that. And right now we're experiencing all those things together. And I feel like that's not the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be. So I guess insert blessing here that we should be able to sort through each thing and find the growth and find the goodness. I don't know when we're talking about these things, but that we should be able to put everything in its place and go through it as it comes, not have to deal with it altogether.
Yeah. I mean, that is a beautiful blessing and bracha because I think what we're experiencing now is right as having so many things come at us, having access to too much, having everything at our fingertips. Like Hashem didn't create the world. I mean, obviously Hashem is involved in every which way the world was created, but we evolved into this world where everything's at our fingertips. We have so much information and it's, I think, our job to learn how to navigate that. It doesn't mean it's our job to also push back on that and make boundaries and figure out how to navigate. Oh, not to say that the world is going where it's going, right? We can't necessarily stop it, even though me and my AI rant. Like if I could stop it, I would. And I really, really struggle with it. But at the same time, I understand that I'm not stopping it. This is what's happening. We're going to have to figure out a way to embrace it. But also that doesn't mean you just let everything happen to you. You have to take control. You have to make boundaries. Just because everyone is doing something doesn't mean that you have to jump on the bandwagon. That's how I feel about trends, the healing trends that we see happening.
I think it all goes back to discovering your values. And even if your values are not 100% the same as my values, that are not the same as somebody else's, but I think just the practice of finding your values and aligning yourself and your life with them is the work. I don't know.
Right. And what are you giving up for your values?
What price are you willing to pay for those values? Exactly.
Right. And it's so interesting because the way, I can give a really personal example, but it's not heavy weighted, but it's to me, I have a value that we don't have screens in our home and we push off the phone as much as possible. And that is such a strong value for me because of my family dynamics, right? And you know how much we sacrifice and you know how hard that is to uphold, but it's worth it because it's a value of mine and I know that's what my family needs. And what's also really good about this example is it doesn't mean that that's your family value and your family needs. And it doesn't have to be. It's not one way. But I think to what your point is, you need to know what your values are. You need to know what you're willing to sacrifice and for what. And when you do that, there's so much clarity. When my husband and I made that decision for our family with the advice and the encouragement of all the experts in our life to do this, as hard as it is and as it was so freeing because we were all in and we knew, it wasn't when the worst thing is when you make a decision and you're not sure.
Right.
Should I or shouldn't I? Maybe yes, maybe no. But when you have clarity, no matter how hard it is, there's something that's just so freeing about that. And you can handle it and do it because you know that that's the right choice. And you know that the end game is what you're looking at. And you have a goal.
Right. Like Brene Brown says, right? Clear is kind.
Tell me more about that.
I think it's an
Yeah,
implicit. I feel like I quote her when talking to somebody else, or I use it in the realm of early childhood
please.
education. But when you're clear with your expectation, even if it's not what a kid wants to hear, it's the kindest
Yes.
thing you can do for them.
I know the wishy-washiness is just,
Exactly. So
uh,
we all
doesn't
feel
work.
more secure when there's clarity. We all feel
Yeah.
better with boundaries and whatever. I mean, I guess that's where my life took me to education. And
So currently you are in education, right?
yeah, so this is my 21st year as an educator. I currently teach kindergarten. Love it. Absolutely love it. I love this age. I love this stage. They're young enough that they're still curious and open, and they're old enough that we're not changing diapers. They speak clearly. And was it Mr. Rogers who said everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten? I find that to be so true. I think we take a step back, or I take a step back when I enter my kindergarten classroom every day, and it's like kind of like the world just becomes a little simpler. Like you were saying, like there's so much being thrown at you. And
Yes.
I just want to take a second and say, like, we're so lucky to live in this world with so much. We have so much abundance that we take
Yeah.
for granted. That's just so normal to us. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's miraculous, right? It's the generation of Mashiach, if you want to call it nothing else, right? Like, it's incredible.
Yeah. I think, yeah, stopping and recognize how much abundance we have is important because we do take it for
We
granted.
do. And I think being in kindergarten every day, and just the simple innocence of children and the way they see things before they become jaded from everything
Yeah.
thrown at them and whatever. I'm really grateful to be able to do that every day. And what I'm most proud of is the inclusion piece of my kindergarten.
Mm.
So for the last couple
Tell
of
me.
years, I've had children who go to a special school in the afternoon join me in the mornings. And in general, I've always been passionate about inclusion, probably because I felt so excluded as a kid
Yeah.
that I, as an adult, feel that it's like my obligation, my everything, my dream. I've always felt for the underdog, for the victim, for the less. And so I feel really blessed that I get to include those children in my classroom. And I also direct a Hebrew school for children with special needs who don't get the opportunity to go to a yeshiva day school during the week.
Wow.
Amazing. And like I tell the volunteers, whatever you put into it, you will get so much more out of it. And it's so true. And that's what keeps me giving up Sunday mornings, because
I know. That's a
it's
big
not
deal.
easy.
Let's just say. I'm so curious about the practical aspect of this, the inclusion. Like, how do you practically blend all these different types of kids into one classroom?
Well, obviously, physically to give them the support they need. I'm not saying I do it
Okay.
all on my own,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
but I think it's the vision of and the wanting to include, and then children do it naturally, right?
Hmm.
They don't
Hmm.
see things as distinctly as adults do. Again, they're not jaded yet. So, my dream is that if we start children off at a young enough age by being inclusive of children that are different in any way, they don't need to have a specific diagnosis to be
Yeah,
considered
for
different,
sure.
right?
They can just look
Everybody's
different
different.
too.
Everybody
Yeah.
is different. That's the way God created us, to be different. And there's ways to include people that look like you too, by the way. Like, I know, spoiler alert, you're able to.
Spoiler alert.
But I think
Yeah.
that that's really definitely become my mission, my passion, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, because
Yeah.
the goal is that if we start that at a young enough stage, then we'll create a society of more inclusive people.
It starts from the bottom or the top.
Right. Like I have a sign in my classroom that keeps me very grounded. Like the future of the world is in this classroom. And it's really true. These
Yeah.
kids are going to be the adults of the future. Whatever they're getting now, whatever they're hearing, whatever they're seeing, that's going to be who they become when they're our age. And
Yeah.
if anything, I just want to like leave the world, I don't know, better than
A little better than it
right?
started.
Little teeny tiny.
Yeah. That's really, really just so lack a better word. It's beautiful. And I think it's so interesting with kids because like you were saying that they're so open, they're not jaded. And on the other hand, we see that kids can be so cruel, you know? And so how do you reconcile those two things? Like, I guess if a kid is struggling and is being a bully or is cruel, oftentimes there's a struggle, there's a home, something happening
There's
going on at
an
home.
unmet need.
There's
An
an unmet need.
unmet need.
Yeah.
People
I love how
are
you worded that.
good. People are good. Hashem created them in his image. Hashem is good. He
Yeah.
created people to do good, to be good. If they're acting otherwise, then there's something off.
Yeah.
And I think if you use that as your MO, that people are good, it getting back to acceptance, right?
Right.
It enables you to accept them so much more than if everybody is just, each man to himself, that some are good, some are bad.
Yeah. The way that you said that though is like, I think that's a very practical takeaway is that when someone's acting out, there's an unmet need. That's a very tangible way to look at it. And then you can also help be a fixer. If you're a parent of that child, you can be like, oh, there's an unmet need here. And sometimes it's very hard to figure out what that unmet need is. And you have to do a lot of investigating. It takes a lot of time. But you have this awareness of like, this child isn't, every kid wants to be good.
By the way,
Like they want to behave.
it's not just children.
Adults too. You're right. Yeah.
Like every person wants to do good, wants to be good. They are good in their essence. If they're not coming across as that, there's something off. And sometimes it's your job to fix it, and sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not.
And it's just your job to recognize it so that you can face it or hold it. You don't even have to fix it. You don't have to face it. You just have to sometimes hold it if it applies to you.
And I think like it's a very good tool as a parent. Out in the world, you can't fix it all the time. You can't. You're not in control. And as a parent, you're also not in control. But I think if you're watching your kid really struggle, I think that's a really important question to ask yourself. Like, what's the unmet need? And
I think we do it naturally when babies are babies, right? Like,
yes, right. They cry, and you're like, oh, dirty diaper, hungry.
But then, like somehow, as we get older, we just expect like what? In essence, crying. Whether the crying means throwing things at you or saying mean things or hurting your feelings or whatever, that's a form of crying. There's something unmet there.
So true. Have you ever read the book? This is in very similar vein, but Oprah and Dr. Perry, who's a trauma expert, wrote this book, What Happened to You?
Yeah. I think you actually gave it to me.
I tell everybody.
No,
that.
I think
I
when
did
it first came out, you read it.
I bought it for you, right?
You bought it, and then I was at your house that Pesach, and you gave it to me. Yeah.
Yes. So listen, first of all, I'm going to put it in the show notes because I think it's a book everybody should read, whether you feel like you have trauma in your life or not. Somebody in your life, it will help you deal with. But the premise of this book is when you want to say when you encounter someone that's struggling and your automatic reactive response is, what's wrong with you? You flip it and you switch it. And the narrative is, what happened to you? What happened to you that now is leading you to act in this way, behave in this way, struggle in this way? And it is such a life-changing way to look at things because it makes you understand and realize that kind of what we said earlier, like nothing happens in a vacuum. There's a source to things. There's a need that was unmet. There was a trauma that happened. It's just a really beautiful and helpful way to move about the world instead of being, but what was wrong with you? And what's wrong with you? And it's like, oh, what happened to this person? What don't I know? There's something here that I'm not privy to that's affecting how this person is showing up in the world.
And sometimes I'll never know, right? But it
most of the time you won't know.
It enables me to be down the Kopfschuss. It enables me to be able to say, like, okay, I can, whatever the term is, judging favorably. I can be like, okay, they're struggling. I hear that. I get that. And whether I can fix it or not, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a good lesson.
It's like 10:30 for you. I am so grateful that you're here. and you have to go back to kindergarten in the morning. So
Good
I'm
thing
not
I
going to
like
keep you much
it,
longer.
right?
I, it's a good thing you like. Good thing you like it. How do you get up in the morning? Oh my gosh, because you love what you do, but
I wish I could say
doesn't make it
that. I
easy.
don't. I get up in the morning because my alarm clock rings. Like, very practical. I don't love getting up
Right.
in the morning.
No. And like we said before, just because it's your job or you enjoy it or whatever doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean
No.
it's
But then
easy.
again, like, it's not meant to be. And I think
That's what I'm
if
saying.
if we
Yes.
sum something up that I think we just spoke about, like, almost ad nauseum, but like I'm going to say it one more time about acceptance. Like, I think the whole like expectation thing really
Mhm.
breeds acceptance. When you set yourself up for proper expectations, you're able to accept things much better than when you expect certain things and that are unrealistic or whatever, and then, of course, you're going to get disappointed. Of course, you're not going to be able
Yeah.
to accept it because you expected too much.
My gosh, I have this conversation with my husband probably every day. Every day. We're like, we've got to manage our expectations. Expectation to expect something that is never going to happen or isn't practical or isn't on the table just sets you up for
Right.
disappointment. Then you're upset and you're not accepting. And I'm not like, we have this conversation with each other. Like we both like
Really?
talk each other off the ledge around
I'm
that.
jealous of like high expectations that are like not necessarily,
No, no,
realistic.
no, never, never.
We all
But,
do.
like, it's something that we all struggle with, right? Like,
Yeah.
we decide that this is what's meant to be or what's supposed to happen or what I expect out of this situation, and oftentimes, it just doesn't make much sense, and then we set ourselves up for disappointment, and then we're not
Right.
accepting.
And I think the flip side to that is gratitude. I think that gratitude
Mhm.
forces us to focus on what we do have rather than the expectation of what we don't have. And I think that's something huge just in this conversation of acceptance and whatever, and choice and whatever. That's your choice. You can look at something and be like, oh my God, I am so grateful for X, Y, and Z. Or you can choose to see it as, oh, it's such a
I didn't
or I
yeah, I
don't
didn't
have
get
it, or I
what you didn't
didn't
get
get
or
what
what
I
I don't have.
wanted, or it didn't work out the way I wanted. Because there's always those two things. Everything has both in it.
Yeah. This and oh,
Wow.
wow.
Okay. Good. We're done.
God,
I never have
no,
to
we're
do this
not
again.
done. No, are you kidding?
I
Chevee, you loved it.
loved, I guess. I will.
What?
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. But listen, I do have one last thing I want to end off
Mhm.
on, just because this is not what we talked about at
Oh God.
all, a different subject. But I feel like because I have you in the room and you are a masterful educator, and don't be humble because I'm not going to accept it. I know you long enough. I know what an amazing teacher you are, especially for the kindergarten age and in general education, because it doesn't end and stop at a certain age. But I wonder if there was something that parents could hear, like a tiny little mantra, tip or trick, or something that you found in all your years of education that you like wish people knew or wish people understood. You know what I mean? Like I know I'm putting you on the spot, but something
I think
that's
the
like,
biggest is what we spoke about. If somebody's
mhm,
behaving a certain way, then there's an unmet need. I
mhm,
think that's number one. I think the other thing we spoke about was acceptance. That's number
mhm.
two. I think we really covered it all. I mean, if we could accept our children for who they are, not
I
we
was gonna
want
say, let's apply the acceptance to our
right.
children.
I feel like that's huge. And you can only begin to accept other people once you've accepted yourself.
Okay, that's a hot
I
tip.
think so, right? If you can't accept
Yeah.
yourself, how could you spread that forward to others?
And your kids know, by the way,
Oh,
like
they totally know.
they have a way of pulling it out of you and making you face
Yes.
yourself. And if you just do it, don't run away from it.
Right. So I think that's huge. I think it's a huge gift that you can give your kids to model that.
Yeah.
I really, I think that's it.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Oh, you're the best. Okay. How did you enjoy that incredible episode? Is Chavie like a gem or what? I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to have a friend of this caliber. There are so many discussions that we can have around this episode. And I think one of the main like threads throughout the episode is this idea of the feeling of other, fitting in, feeling like an outsider. And it was really interesting because I know Chavie for so long, and yet there were some things that I learned that I didn't know, especially about our high school experience. Like Chavie was like just the life of the party always, and just knowing and understanding. And then she thought that about me. We weren't actually like close in high school. We were friendly, but we became really good friends in seminary. And yeah, it's just such an important reminder that there's always more going on than you think. And I really appreciated and hearing parts of Chavie's story that I didn't even know as her good friend. So it's been interesting because I think this concept of otherness has been showing up for me a lot lately in my own life and then the people that I speak to. And it's almost like at a certain point in our life, we are going to feel this sense of otherness. And I like think about, like, I wonder what that is. And I do think that that is part of our integration of us and our soul and like understanding who we are. Like if you always fit in and you're always part of the group and you never had this feeling of outsideness, is that a word? Then when are you ever called to reflect? Right? If there's nothing pushing you to reflect, then you don't do it. And I think we come across this sense of, do I fit in? I want to belong. And I feel like I don't belong. And why don't I belong? And what is that saying about me? And who am I? And where do I even want to belong? Sometimes we just want a sense of belonging, but we don't even know where we belong. And I think that's like the catalyst and the tools through which we're supposed to figure out who we are. And I think if you look back at your story or you listen to Chavie's story and my story, it's like those moments of, oh my gosh, like I thought I would fit in here and I don't, or I really want to fit in here. How do I do that? Or how do I be in the system but still be individual? Like those are the growth points. Like that's what pushes us to be who we are and to intentionally understand where we are supposed to be in this world. And it's really uncomfortable to have this feeling of not belonging, but I think it's necessary. And I think it's like really what pushes us to really become. Yeah, this is a concept that has been coming up for me so much. And there are times where I feel very other or very on the fringe or on the outside. And still to this day, I'm 41 years old. And I constantly have to reflect and be like, first of all, do I even want to be part of this group that I'm like, oh, I'm not part of this group, or I'm not here. I didn't make it over here. It's like, but do my values really align with that group? Do I really want to be there? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then it's also like, okay, but who do I want to be? And as long as I'm reflecting and being who I want to be, who I know, like who I am and what I'm contributing to this world, I think once we become more firm in that, the otherness that starts to like go away. We don't feel it as strongly. And then we find our people. Like if you can figure out your identity, I promise you, you will find the people that you're meant to be with, that you're meant to align with, that you're meant to be associated with. Anyways, I thought that was just like a really powerful thread throughout the episode. And of course, another powerful concept is just this idea of when an unexpected thing happens, truly unexpected, and it shakes you to your core, finding the common ground and your values that do align is so, I want to say revolutionary, but it's not revolutionary. But the way Chavee described this experience of this unexpected turn in how her husband started to approach life and finding like how much there is outside of that connect you, that ground you, that make your relationship so powerful. And it's so easy. Well, it's not, nothing's easy, but it could be the automatic response is like throw the baby out with the bathwater or forget it. Like we don't agree on this very one important thing. So that's it. We're done. But the process of digging so deep and being open to the uncomfortable and exploring the commonality, just the things outside of that one thing and how powerful that can be. I hope everybody listens to this episode. And I hope if you listen, you feel impacted. And none of us have the same story. Everybody has a different story. Everyone has something else that happens that's unexpected that throws you for a loop. But I think there's like some core tools and principles and abilities to navigate when the unexpected happens. And I think Chavee gave us a real gift in giving us a little peek of her experience. And again, like when we're talking about vulnerable things, like people come onto my podcast and it's vulnerable. Like we're not surface level. And that could be really, kind of difficult and scary. And there's a lot of trust that happens in our conversations. And I am so grateful for all the guests that come on here that trust me and that trust the space and that trust the listeners to give them the grace and the understanding and the space to share a piece of themselves that is so beautiful and vulnerable and sacred. And there's this art of like sharing vulnerably, but also having a line and respecting the other people in your life that the story includes. And it's a very delicate dance. And when the guests come on and are willing to do this with me, it is truly the biggest honor. Yeah, this isn't just like a surface level podcast where I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions that are, you can answer off the top of your head. It's like we really uncover some layers. We go deep. We touch things that are sacred and can be really hard to share. So this was a really beautiful example of sharing vulnerably, a really beautiful life experience that doesn't always feel beautiful, right? There's like a lot of moments that are rough, but doing so with such grace and doing so with such respect and respecting privacy. Like there's a way to share vulnerably and respect privacy at the same time. It's not like, oh, if you share vulnerably, you're violating somebody's privacy. There's absolutely 1000% ways to share vulnerably and respect privacy. And I think the guests on this podcast do that in such a beautiful way. So this is just a little bit of a shout out to all my guests and for Chavee this week and for giving you a little peek behind the curtain of what it's like to straddle and to go out of your comfort zone a little bit. Like there's something really powerful about pushing yourself just a little bit. And I think really beautiful things come out of that. Anyway, that's my TED Talk. And really, I can't imagine that you didn't enjoy this. And as always, your feedback means the world. Leave a review, leave a comment, rate the podcast, share with me. When I ask you to send voice notes, like be a part of this community. It's growing into something so incredible, which leads me right into the voice note segment of this podcast. The topic of the week was about bonding with our children, I usually pick a topic that's connected to the podcast that was aired the most recently. So obviously not this one because you just listened to this one, but the one that was aired right before. And that was Brooklyn's podcast about parenting. And Brooklyn also is a beautiful example of sharing vulnerably with a experience that is hard to talk about. And she shared that she didn't always want to be a mom. And it took quite some time to get her sea legs and to figure out like how she wanted to show up as a mom. And today she's an amazing mother and is a parenting expert and just contributes so much to this beautiful world. And this kind of inspired my question of, did you bond with your child right away? So the first thing I'm going to share is the voice note, and we will go from there.
Hi, responding to your question regarding bonding, I do think that your birth experience affects how you bond with your baby. I also think age affects, your bonding experience with your baby. I feel like I bonded much more with my last baby that I had. She was not born in a hospital and I had a midwife. I also was 40 when I had her, as opposed to having my first one at 24. I think that the experience that I had with her, my last baby, the midwife left me and my husband in the room right after she was born. She was literally still attached to me, like the placenta was still inside me. And the midwife left me and my husband to, have bonding time. And I feel like that really made such a difference. I also did not have medication. I was able to nurse right away. The room was calm and dark, and it wasn't like bright lights and medical. I really think that and also the older that you are, you just appreciate it more. So had I known the information that I know now, over 40, rather than if I knew this when I was 24, I mean, I had babies in hospitals with epidurals and doctors and nurses, and they grab the baby away from you and they do whatever they need to do. They weigh the baby. It's such a different experience having the midwife home birth kind of experience rather than a hospital clinical setting. And I really think that that makes a difference in your bonding. I really feel like I bonded with her so much faster and so much more than I did with my other kids.
Okay. So this is a really common thread that I received in the responses to this question. The age thing is a real thing. And again, there's no everyone or everything. There's no like, oh, this is how it is. Again, there will always be everyone's unique experience, but I am seeing anecdotally like a common thread of having your first baby compared to the babies that you're having later on in life. There's something to be said for the maturity, for the age, for the less overwhelm and panic. Like it is so scary having a baby and your first baby. Like there's so much going on other than just trying to bond, and it's overwhelming. So I do think that plays a really big role, and I'd be curious to hear if that's been your experience. I think having a baby in your 40s or late 30s, when you're older, you're a little bit more grounded, you know who you are, you might have more experience in parenting, and there's just something about that is conducive for a smoother bonding experience. And I think the other thing that she said in the voice note is so profound. Like your environment matters. So some people will bond with their baby like the second the baby's born in a hospital setting with all the beeping and the noise and the doctors and the weighing and all the stuff. But if that made it hard for you, just know that like, of course that's hard. Of course that's like the environment is really distracting. And so this is not a debate about home birth versus not home birth. And there's a lot of thoughts about that. But I love what she shared, that the environment and the way that she went about having her last baby was so much more intentional around the bonding experience. And I found that to be really interesting. And I thought a beautiful thing to share. And listen, if that impacts you and it resonates and it can help you set yourself up for success, then that's why we're here. Okay, so I'm also going to read two other shares that I thought were really profound and helpful, and also just sharing an experience. Again, vulnerability. There's something to be said by letting your guard down and sharing vulnerably and authentically, and you might not have. Okay, so I actually found it different to bond with each of my kids. I had a rough time adjusting to having 0 to 1 kid, and he had really bad colic, and I had no clue what I was doing. See the theme here? I knew he was cute and I loved him, but wasn't enjoying every part and didn't feel bonded until after he turned 1. My second child, I bonded to quicker, and my third one, I feel much more bonded now that the child is over 1 and talking, and I'm seeing personality shine out. So this is a really great example of just different experiences. And sometimes you just don't, like, you can't, it's not all or nothing. Like, one child was this, one child was that. This is a circumstance for this child. This was a circumstance for that child. And I love the awareness. Like, there's something so beautiful and almost like a load off your shoulders when you can just be aware of what's happening. Because when we try to like pretend it's something else or stuff it down, like that affects the relationship in the end. So I love this awareness and this ability to just face it and let the relationship develop and evolve. How beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing. The last thing I want to share is when my first 2 were born, I didn't feel instant love and connection. It took maybe a month to build up or a little longer. I remember feeling scared that maybe I wasn't cut out to be a mother because everyone said that as soon as you look at your baby, you feel overwhelming love, and I didn't. I actually was kind of resentful towards the baby for taking up so much time and effort, and me being the one that couldn't go out with everyone, or when my second was born, being resentful that I couldn't spend more time with the oldest. For me, that's when I understood the Jewish concept that love comes from giving, because that's what I felt, that I gave so much to my baby, and that's what built the love. With my last baby, even though newborn stage is very hard for me, I felt different. I felt so appreciative of her, so full to have her, and I felt so much love. Maybe because I was more mature, I don't know what changed, but it felt different. Also, such a beautiful, vulnerable share. First of all, it addresses so many things. Everybody tells you you're going to feel something the second you hold your baby. Well, maybe some people don't. And that brings shame. And that brings this feeling of I'm not good enough, or maybe I'm not cut out for this. And that's not fair. And that's scary. I can imagine how scary that felt. And the resentment that comes from being a mother, yeah, it's really hard being a mother. And sometimes we can't do the things that we want to do, or we don't get sleep and we don't get to eat. And we're just consumed by diapers and feedings and exhaustion. And we're not like, we almost lose track of who we are. Like, that is a very common thing. Like, who am I outside of this caretaking role? But the idea that she tapped into this giving and the love that comes from giving of yourself and the love that was built through that connection is really, really beautiful. And at the end, it's that common thread I was talking about is maybe being, the baby in her later years and when she was older, and that sense of maturity and that sense of groundedness and maybe like the fear wasn't there. Like, I know if I don't bond with my baby right away, like it's still okay. There was less fear. And I think that is a real thing. And so thank you for all the beautiful shares. I got much more. I just chose a few. Continue to share with me. And every time I record, I will pick people to share with, beautiful, poignant stories, things that can help us feel part of a community, feel less alone, feel like you're not, talk about belonging, right? Full circle. Like, no one wants to feel like they're the only one who's struggling with this. We are humans built for connection, built for belonging. And when you feel like you're alone in an experience, it's very isolating. And so one of my biggest passions and one of the biggest things that I want to accomplish with this podcast is the sense of community, the sense that we can share with each other and be vulnerable, and the sense that when you're listening to an episode, there's something that's enveloping. There's this aha, like, oh, I see you, I hear you, through storytelling, through conversation, through, getting past the layers. It's really one of my passions. So thank you for being here, and have a beautiful Hanukkah season. Hanukkah is such a busy season. We have a lot of things planned here in Bozeman. We have our big Hanukkah bash that I always love to create. I always wait till last minute, which is not good, but I'm starting to plan the decor. I don't have a menu planned yet. I am looking for ideas. If you have good menu ideas for a Hanukkah party, remember there's no catering. I got to cook it all myself. So it has to be delicious, but not too labor intensive and too patchki. Like it has to be doable. Send them my way. I'm looking for unique things to do. I always like to change it up. I never like to do the same thing. And then we have menorah lightings all over the state. And we have all the shluchim in Montana doing fantastical Hanukkah things. And we have our public menorah lighting downtown on the last day of Hanukkah. And I love Hanukkah, such good energy. It's like you can't be mad on Hanukkah. I mean, you could be, but don't be, because it's so fun. It's so fun. And it's a holiday all about like happiness and light and positivity. Like we just lean into the positivity. Like there's a place for that. So enjoy. I hope it's fun. I hope you feel loved. I hope you feel connected. And I will see you next time. Okay, so this podcast does not happen by itself. The magic takes a whole group of amazing people, and I want to tell you who those people are. So obviously, I'm your host, Chavie. Our producer and creative director is Eli Ben-Chion. He keeps me on my toes. He makes sure that I just keep growing and am on point and don't miss a beat. He's the best. Audio is edited and mixed by Reed Seeley. Also, unbelievable. He's so cool, calm, and collected. You kind of need that working with me. And the music, which is beautiful, is by Basia Schechter and Shaul Magid. And this is totally unexpected.